Hello all, I'm Atlas, and I'm here in Valheim again, or rather in Valheim Files. With months of managing and building and maintaining the Valhalla Gothic MMO test server, I figured there's never been a better time to look at some of the mods we use and highlight them and how they work. I'll give an overview of how to set them up and what effects they can have on your server. As a heads up, we'll be looking at mods that are mostly server-side with little effect on in-game mechanics. So we're not talking new game additions, but more so server security and player management. Another important thing to mention, if you're wondering on the dedicated server aspect of things in this video, everything in this video will be shown on the Nodecraft server setup, as that is what I am most familiar with. These steps, short of putting mods on your server, will be the same for everybody though. We'll be using thunderstore.com and the R2 mod manager to download and manage all the mods. Links below in the description if you guys need videos on how to use those. All of these mods are confirmed to be working on the current version of Valheim. So without further noise, let's get into the top mods server owners and admins should have on their servers. First up, let's talk about dedicated server hosting in Valheim Plus. Valheim Plus is an overhaul mod that came out a couple years ago that took the community by storm. It was recently abandoned and then picked up by another team member. If you're from my community, this story will of course sound incredibly familiar, which should clue you into what I'm going to say next. Valheim Plus is too large of a mod to be able to be compatible with many mods. It does things its own way and thus creates a lot of issues with other mods. If you like Valheim Plus, that is 100% fine and okay, but I would be remiss if I didn't warn users. Valheim Plus also has a host of other issues. Some hosting companies still think that Valheim Plus is the source or only mod for Valheim. Some hosters will force Valheim Plus to load on your server even if all you want is the BepInEx correctly installed on the server so that you can install other mods. If Valheim Plus breaks due to a game update, your server is effectively bricked until that almost non-existent authors update the mod. There are two solutions to this. Get a new host provider like Nodecraft, or get Valheim Minus. Valheim Minus is not technically a server mod, but more so a patcher that prevents Valheim Plus from loading. To put it simply, it runs from the BepInEx patchers folder and prevents the mod from even starting up on your server. While it usually isn't needed anymore with the current standards of server hosting, it is worth noting that some services like Nitrado and others may still automatically add Valheim Plus to your mods list. If they do, get Valheim Minus. Moving on from general info, we can look at the top 4 mods for server management with some honorary mentions at the end of the video. Azu Anticheat is a basic anti-cheat system that has been worked on with much feedback from the community and prevents basic things like save editing to have a billion damage or infinite health. To quote Azu's description himself, it is a simple anti-dickhead mod. It runs a quick check of the mod list that's allowed and prevents connections with certain programs that are detected like WeMod and certain save editors. It also ensures that everyone has the same mods with some exceptions for admins, which will become relevant with server dev commands. So let's take a quick look at how to set up anti-cheat. First, once we have the mods downloaded, let's start the game and generate the configs we need. Once we have the configs we need, we'll copy the configs folder directly to our server instead of starting the server and generating the configs there. It's faster to boot your game than it is a server usually, and much easier to manage the files once and then drop them over. With the configs generated, we now have the baseline settings. I won't go into too much detail here as Azumet already has a detailed video covering anti-cheat, but let's get the basics. First up, we'll add a webhook so we can track server events with anti-cheat. Go to your personal Discord server and either add another channel or go into a channel and make a new Discord webhook. We'll add this to the Azumat webhook file and your file should look exactly like mine with the exception of a different webhook link. Bear in mind, spacing is important here. This webhook link prints out messages like you see on screen, which allows you to detect when there's mod incompatibilities or there are kicks for certain things. The next thing we want to set up is of course the whitelist. The whitelist is all of our allowed and mandatory mods. This is pretty simple. Go to your plugins folder and type in .dll. Wait for it to finish populating and then copy and drag all your files over to the whitelist. This ensures not only are the same mods required, but the same version of mods are required to avoid server instability and player crashes. When you go to update your server, you will have to update the mods here every time. It's best to clear the server whitelist and then move the mods over again. Overwriting mods can result in some mods losing data or corrupting in weird ways, which is a headache. The gray list mods are optional mods. Mods that you place in here should be client-only mods, stuff like UI or graphic mods. The mods in the gray list are not needed to play on your server, but are optional. On my server, we have stuff like an emote wheel mod, an equipment wheel mod. With that said, if you want a more in-depth guide to Azu's Anticheat, you can find the link to his video in the description, and I would actually advise you all watch it if you're having trouble. Server characters is another incredibly important mod. This mod disallows older character saves from being used on new servers if you set it up that way. This saves your character to the server instead of just a local file. This means that the server will check and overwrite the same save. This mod has a bunch of useful server management features too. Some of the features are as follows: character save backups, allowing the server to save multiple versions of the same character save so you can roll back in case it's needed. It is advised for those with lower storage capacity not to turn this on. Emergency backups. If a client is forcefully disconnected, the mod will initiate a game save for that character, which usually prevents data corruption or progress loss. AFK kick timer. This allows you to ensure maximum server resources are going where they need to go instead of to your friend who's been AFK for the last hour and a half. When a player is kicked, this should initiate a save. Poison debuff storage. For expert players, you may know that you can log out to the main menu to lose debuffs. If you enable this, the character file saved on the server will remember the poison damage you had and for how long. Server-side inventory. This helps prevent inventory duping. Single character mode. This option is not usually advised unless you don't mind managing the server a little bit more. This only allows one character save per user. A key note here is that if a user is disconnected while connecting to the server for the first time, this will actually not allow them to connect to the server, and the server-side save will have to be deleted and they will have to make a new character. Server dev commands. This mod is needed for all admins to use and have commands on the server. You'll need to go into your server-side data folder and add your Steam 64 ID to the admin list to ensure that you actually use commands. But this also comes with a lot of admin features built into the config menu. There's a ghost mode that actually makes you invisible, being able to always see all players at all times. This mod is exceptionally powerful as an admin and basically allows free-form cheating, so it's not usually advised for players who don't have self-control. Check the documentation linked below to see more about the mod, all available commands, and config options. This mod has lots and lots of features that allow basic server management in a simple way through a configuration. Let's go through a list and describe what they do. Set the default spawn point for all players. This allows you to say spawn someone at a player-built town when they're new instead of at the boss stones. Toggle the Valkyrie opening cutscene. This feature allows you to simply skip the new character screen to a server. Toggle or customize the I have arrived message on a new player connection. This feature allows you to disable the arrival shouts, which I know many people find annoying. Toggle the visibility of Haldor, Hildir, and the Start Temple map pins. This feature is useful if you, for instance, move Haldor, Hildir, or the Balstones, like we do on my server. We actually have custom spawns for them, and so the icons show up whenever they normally generate in the world. So we turn these off and people are directed to where to go. Toggle player map position icons always on or off. If you have a co-op server, you might want to enable this to always be on so that everyone can see where each other is. Or if you have a PvP server, you may want to disable this so that no one knows where each other is. Toggle PvP always on or off. You can of course allow players to make their own choices, or you can forcefully enable or permanently disable PvP with this feature. Toggle teleporting on death or only on PvP deaths. Teleporting on death enables whether you can teleport to your grave on any death or PvP deaths. If disabled, you will be teleported back to your bed for all deaths instead of to your grave. Toggle skill loss on death or only on PvP deaths. Toggling skill loss, much like above, enables the ability to only lose skill XP on all deaths or only PvP deaths. If disabled, XP loss is vanilla. Toggle player ability to ping the map. Simply put, it allows you to ping the map or not. Automatic death grace window on player respawn. Simply put, this makes you invincible for X period of seconds when you respawn. Useful if you have grave respawning enabled. So for instance, if you die in the swamps and you have a grave respawn, you will respawn on the grave invincible for, say, 5 seconds. Boss message banners only send to players within range. Example, boss messages aren't broadcast to everyone on the server. Useful if you have other players doing other things. This can basically prevent you from seeing Bone Mass was killed, Bone Mass was killed, Bone Mass was killed. I don't care that my friend is killing Bone Mass. I know he's killing Bone Mass. We're literally talking right now in chat. He just killed Bone Mass for the 10th time today. I don't need to see it. I'm currently farming in the plains. Ability to offset the game day. This allows you to overwrite the day message, which is useful for server builders. So for instance, if you are a server builder and you spend 1,000 days building out your server, instead of you putting the server online at 1,000 days, you can change the message which is displayed, not the time, and you can set the message that is displayed back to 1. This will not change the time, so it does not create any bugs or issues. And then you have the ability to hide Steam and Xbox platform tags from shouts and chat messages. This setting helps clean up your chat a little bit and can easily be replaced by other chat mods. These are the 4 core mods I would advise for almost every single server. But that doesn't mean that these are the only mods that can help with server security or management. So I'll give you guys some quick honorable mentions with a quick description of what the mod does. Much like the Azu Discord webhook, this allows you to track multiple things like server up, status, and downtimes, who joins, who leaves, who dies, what messages are shouted, and where the players' locations are. You can track leaderboards and player events like raids. Max player count allows you to have more than 10 people on a server. I would advise setting this config to about 20 to 30 people max. Asocial cartography mod or the better cartography table mod. Both mods make the cartography table much more useful and enables users to sync pins to each other as they wish, along with map progress instead of whoever used it last. This allows you to have a cartography table everyone can use. Better cartography also has many more features and tie-ins with other mods. Another tracker and server security mod, this one tracks literally everything the player does down to the most minute detail and dumps it in a log found on the server. It's useful for very big no-trust servers like mine and ensures that everyone is properly playing so long as you learn how to quickly read the files. These are files that you will actually have to download from your server and then open up to read. This is something you have to be mindful of if somebody is saying bad words or you assume that they're cheating and stuff like this. This logs everything, every single item in their every single item, its description, all effects of the items. A much more powerful mod than CLLC with many more options. This allows certain things like dungeons and mines to respawn. It works with other mods and is suggested to be used with Oriana Ventures Mines mod, as it has native settings for the mod which allows all resources the ability to regenerate, which is incredibly helpful for long time running servers. For more advanced users, I'm just going to say Jair's mods. While not one mod, mods like Infinity Hammer, Infinity Tools, World Edit, etc. can make a player admin jobs really easy and really fun, and gives admins lots and lots of tools and commands to shape Valheim how they want. This mod is simply a good utility mod. Much like server characters, it allows backups, but instead of character saves, this backs up your server log and player log files depending on how you set it. This can be useful for debugging and getting help. I do strongly recommend this mod. If you guys liked the video, feel free to like or dislike it if you disliked it. If you have any questions, you can find relevant links and info in the description, or you can leave a comment. If you have any more Valheim mod suggestions to cover, let me know down below. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe. I'm Atlas, and I will see you guys very, very soon.